I wonder if I'm gonna cry during this video. I don't think I'll cry. I'm gonna be good. But if I cry, it's okay, right? Hey love, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Shaquana and I'm so excited to do this video, to share this video with you. It's a very personal video, a very intimate video, but I'm just so excited to talk about it. And I want to share some things that I've gained through my grieving journey surrounding my mom's death, my mom's passing. I feel like a lot of times when you look up things about grief, or when people talk about grief, they talk about the very sad and uncomfortable moments, which are definitely important. You know, they talk about the 5 stages of grief, very valid, very true. But I personally don't see too much talk about the positive things that you can gain from grieving. I think those are important to highlight. And so I have my own share of things that I want to explain or talk about as far as the positive things I've gained from my mother's passing. But before I get into those 5 things I've gained from my grieving journey, grieving my mother, I need to provide some background, some context into why my grieving journey, my grieving process was the way it was. I think everyone has different ways of grieving, has different journeys and experiences. So I do feel like I briefly need to explain kind of like what happened with my mom and the years since then, what has happened as well. So my mom, when she was 27, was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she passed away at 33 years old. I was only 8 years old. I was a very young girl, and I have distinct memories of her being sick, being in the hospital, but I definitely remember the moment that I was told that my mom had passed. I was in my bedroom, and remember, I'm 8 years old. I'm in my bedroom, and my dad and my grandmother came in, sat me down, and basically told me, hey, your mom has passed away. She's in heaven now, things like that. I did not understand what they were talking about. At 8 years old, I was just like, okay, like I just did not understand. I did not process it. I just kind of just like, okay. I didn't cry when they told me that. And in fact, you know, after she passed, and you know, the week or the days leading up to the funeral, we're getting all these so all this support and love from our family and friends, and of course I appreciated that. And all the way leading up to the funeral, I still did not cry. I did not cry at her funeral. I just remember looking around like, okay, I guess mommy's gone, but I don't really understand. So it was really weird. But I was 8 years old, and it was the first time I was really dealing with death like that. So it wasn't until I got back to school, I returned to school. The faculty at my school are very supportive. Shout out to my 3rd grade teacher. May she rest in peace, Mrs. Backus. She was so supportive during that time. And I remember sitting in the guidance counselor office, and we were doing something, some type of activity. And she asked me about my mom, and I said, I miss my mommy. I was like, oh my gosh, I miss my mommy. And that's when the tears just flowed. That's when I broke down. That was my first time feeling the emotions about my mother's death. Since then, I started developing like a habit of feeling resentful or embarrassed about my mom's death. I remember feeling like, oh, all the other little girls have their mommy. Why don't I have my mommy? And just kind of feeling like different, because my mom wasn't here. And because of that, I truly believe because of that, I started developing a new habit of not sharing her with anyone, not talking about her with anyone. By this time, my dad had remarried my amazing bonus mom. So throughout the years, like middle school, high school, college, like I just always referred to them as my parents. Oh, my parents are here. My parents are doing this, you know, and that was my way of kind of like bypassing the discussion of, oh, you say your stepmom, so where's your real mom? You know, that conversation is what I was trying to avoid. And so I just learned how to bottle up my mom and put her deep down inside. And it wasn't until my 31st birthday. So this is from 8 years old to, I would say probably until my 20s. In which a lot of my close friends and like close relationships I had, they knew about my mom. Like, it's not like I didn't tell anybody. They knew about my mom. If you were close enough, if I felt safe enough, I shared about her, but I still didn't talk about her to the level of like how I talk about her now. So from 8 years old till about my 20s is the time frame that I just really did not share a lot about my mom, and that's a long time. That's a long time. So then it wasn't until I hit my 30s that I started to really feel my mom, like really feel like it was just something, like I was having a hard time processing my emotions about her. And I'm getting older, I'm getting closer to 33, which is the age she passed, and so I started to just really feel a lot from it. And so thanks to the encouragement of my therapist, she told me to write a letter to my mom. She said, write a letter to your mom and just share your emotions. Just talk, just let it flow. Whatever comes out is what comes out. So on my 31st birthday, I remember that morning, I wrote a letter to my mom. And I remember just, again, letting it flow, just letting God do what he does, flow through me on what to write. And then all of a sudden I looked up and I was reading and I was like, oh my goodness, like, oh my gosh, I had this strong revelation about who I am as it relates to my mom. And I think I never really had that come to my mind. And I realized that everything that I did, everything I am, everything I do is for her, is a reflection of her. I'm literally living out my mom's dreams. Everything from going to school and becoming a Delta. My mom wanted to be a Delta. Starting my nonprofit, doing speaking. I was starting my styling services at that time. And I realized that the underlying foundation of everything that I did was a representation of who my mom was. It was a representation of the things God had did in her life, in her short-lived life. And it was just almost like, okay, I understand my purpose now. I understand why I exist. I am here to continue the legacy of my mom and continue her life here on earth. So that is kind of like the background, just a very, very brief background. I definitely talk a lot about my grieving journey in my book, so definitely click the link below if you want to learn more about my book, Get Up and Get Dressed. It's a woman's guide to looking and feeling powerful according to God's image, and I do talk about my grieving journey and talk about my mom in this book and some things I've had to deal with. So definitely check this out if you are interested. Okay, so that's a very brief, high-level view or background, giving you some context into my mom, how she died, and kind of what my grieving journey, or the lack thereof, was like during the ages from 8 to like my 20s or so. I'm now in my mid-30s, and now I'm just very like grateful for what I have gone through with my grieving journey. Like I said, it is hard, it is sad, there's very much so a lot of uncomfortable moments, but I've gained some really positive things, so I want to go through those right now. Okay, so the first thing I've gained, and it's probably the biggest thing that I've gained because so much of my life surrounds this one thing that I have gained from grieving my mom's death, and that is a redefined meaning of time. I value time greatly, and I value time differently than some people may. And the reason is because my mom passed away very, very young, 33 years old. I'm older than my mom now. In addition to that, I've had high school classmates, friends pass away in their 20s, early 30s. So my whole concept of life and the time that we have here on earth is different. Like, I truly believe that we think we're going to be here longer than we truly are. And therefore, I'm very much so a YOLO type of person, with reason. Like, I'm not out here just doing any and everything, screaming YOLO, but I am very adamant and serious about doing everything God has called me to do while I'm on this earth. So I take risks, no matter how fearful I am. I move with faith. I do what God wants me to do. At least I try. I try to be as obedient as I can. But I just strongly believe in not putting things to the side, thinking that, oh, I have time to do that. Because like I said, we're not here as long as we think we are. Like, I really just want to make sure that I don't leave this earth feeling regretful, feeling like, oh, I should have done this in my 20s. I should have done this in my 30s, right? I want to do everything that God has for me, or get everything God has for me while I'm here on earth, because you never know when it is your last day. This is also why I try to encourage people to step outside your comfort zone. Go against the norm. Do things in a way that, one, God wants you to do them, but do things that fulfills your heart. If you want to move to a new city, move to a new city. You want to write the book, write the book. You want to start the business, start the business. We don't have as much time here on earth that we think we do. The second thing I've gained from my grieving journey, grieving the passing of my mom, was the courage to be vulnerable. So when I wrote the letter, if I go back to the letter I wrote on my 31st birthday, I also felt led to blog about it. So I had wrote this blog sharing some pieces of the letter on my website, and people read it and they resonated with it, and they would contact me and say, oh my gosh, Shaquana, I've had these same feelings about, you know, such and such loved one who passed away. And doing that and having that type of response was the start of kind of me creating a safe space for myself. I think a part of the reason why a lot of people struggle with being vulnerable is because they just don't feel safe enough to do that. But me, again, being bold, stepping outside my comfort zone, and blogging about my mom, in which it was a topic I never really talked about publicly, but doing that really started this movement within me to share more about my vulnerable emotions surrounding my mom, to share more about her legacy, and just really just create this safe space. Like, if you think about it, I went decades without talking about her, and now I'll talk about her to anyone who will listen. I'm sitting here doing a YouTube video about my mom. So it just really gave me that courage and removed that fear of being vulnerable. And I also see that in other areas of my life. I'm vulnerable about my marriage. I'm vulnerable about other relationships in my life, vulnerable about my business. You know, it's all about finding like that godly community that you can feel safe with and lean on in those different areas of your life, and just be courageous enough to be vulnerable and share your emotions. The third thing I gained from grieving my mom's death is finding healing through celebration. I remember when I was entering my 30s, and it was around that 31, 32 age. It was around Mother's Day. I was just feeling so down. And I knew what it was. I knew because it's just something about it. I don't know how to articulate exactly what it is, but it was something about me reaching the same age that my mom passed, that was really hard on me. Like, it was really hard. And so my therapist, again, shout out to her, she's amazing. She said, why don't you find a way to celebrate her? And so my mom and I share a love of jewelry. I actually have on a pair of her earrings right now. But she loved jewelry, and I love jewelry too. Prior to that time period when I was really going through it, my dad had gave me a big bag of some of her jewelry. And when my therapist recommended, hey, do something to celebrate her, do something creative, I said, ooh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something with her jewelry. So what I did is I took some of the pieces, cleaned them up, and I created a necklace out of some of the pieces, the earrings, etc. that was in that bag, and I wore that necklace to church, and I just felt so good during that process of creating that necklace. While I was doing it, it was just so healing. I felt connected to her. I felt so much peace and so much joy. And so I often do that a lot. I actually have more jewelry that I'm going to go through soon and create some things with, or spruce them up so I can wear them when I want to. But every time I am doing something with her pieces, her items, just doing something that connects with her, I feel a lot of healing. Okay, the fourth thing I've gained from grieving my mother's death was connections from the past. So I remember growing up, we always had like pictures, like, you know how you send friends or family pictures, like family pictures, you know, and we always had them either on the refrigerator or in frames around the house. And I always remembered that we had like this one picture of one of my mom's friends from back when she was in college, but I never really knew her, never really talked to her. I just know we had a picture of her and her family in the house. And it was, I think it was last year during this time is when I reconnected with her, and literally she is heaven sent. I do feel like I am in a season right now where I'm leaning on my mom's spirit like heavy, like really heavy. And I know without a shadow of doubt, God sent her friend from college, her old college buddy, back into my life as another way to just connect with my mom. Every time I talk to her, every time I'm around her, I tell her all the time, I was like, I feel my mom through you. She now, I'm now her new goddaughter. That's just the relationship we've definitely developed over this past year or so. Also recently, one of my mom's co-workers from years ago, she had ordered a couple of copies of my book. She read it. She said, I love it. I love it. And she told my dad, and which my dad told me, but she said, I can hear Wanda. That's my mom's name. She said, I can hear Wanda through Shaquana's words. That made my heart smile so much, especially because, in which I may do a video talking about my journey of writing this book, but long story short, I didn't want to write it, but I'm so glad I did. And I'm so glad that she felt my mom through that, because it just further confirms and validates how I felt when I wrote that letter on my 31st birthday, that everything I do is my mom. All right, the fifth thing I've gained from grieving my mom's death is the real meaning of legacy. I think oftentimes when you hear the word legacy, society has definitely made us think more about legacy in terms of, oh, what wealth or generational wealth are you leaving behind, which is very important. Don't get me wrong, that is very important. To me though, to Shaquana, your spiritual legacy is more important. And I definitely know, especially now, I inherited my mom's faith. I inherited my mom's love of God. I inherited my mom's willingness to follow Christ. You know, my faith, my relationship with God, my spirituality did not come overnight. Of course, I've had life experiences, definitely, that have drawn me closer to God. But I often get like comments or questions about like, Shaquana, oh my gosh, I admire your spiritual life, or Shaquana, where you gain all this wisdom, the spiritual wisdom from? And again, yes, life experiences. Yes, it's because of my own personal relationship with God. But I do think I get a lot from my mom too. She was only here for 8 years of my life, and from the time I was born to 8, I definitely did not understand all the things she was doing in regards to her faith. But it just seems like I inherited a lot of her spirituality, which has supplemented my own faith and relationship with God, and really just kind of bloomed me into this woman, this God-fearing woman who just loves God. And I literally put God in everything I do. My book is about my faith and God. Any content I'm putting out, just like this video, any speaking I'm doing, I'm always talking about my faith, because I lean on it so heavy. And I truly feel like When you have the Spirit within you, when you believe in God, when you follow Jesus Christ, everything else comes in place. You're going to make the money to pass down. You're going to generate whatever kind of other wealth that you need to pass down, as long as you are following God and His plan and His vision and His purpose for your life. So I definitely feel like throughout my grieving journey, throughout my life experiences, I gained the real meaning of legacy, and I apply that to my life whenever I can. So again, if you're interested in reading more about my grieving journey and just the emotions and the things I've gone through with processing my mother's death, click the link below to check out Get Up and Get Dressed. This is a book that I published a few years ago, but it literally is the gift that keeps on giving. So click the link below, learn more about Get Up and Get Dressed, and go ahead and grab you a copy or two. It's definitely life-changing, and all women have gained so much along their confidence journey by reading this book. Alright, so that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I pray that you gain something, maybe some wisdom, a revelation about your own grieving process or experiences you are dealing with right now. My prayer is that this video provided some type of encouragement that you need to get through your grieving process as well. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to show your girl some love. And until next time, love you. Bye.